Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's an honour to have the opportunity to give my maiden speech today. And I start by paying tribute to my two immediate predecessors, David Linden and Alison Thewlis. They were thoughtful and conscientious members of Parliament. David's diligent work included chairing the APPG on premature and sick babies, a topic that is close to my family's heart. And I greatly respect Alison and David and thank them for their service to Glasgow. And I should mention two immediate predecessors, Margaret Curran and Anna Sawa, who after leaving this House have continued their public service in Africa and Scotland with great effectiveness. It's a tough act to follow, two great maiden speeches like that. And the honourable member for the Isle of Wight mentioned bears. Bear Grylls, I believe, lived on the Isle of Wight for some time, and a good friend of mine used to suggest that I name my son and then my daughter after Bear Grylls, but no good comes of naming a child Bear in Glasgow. And my friend, the honourable member for North Derbyshire, which I believe covers Clay Cross, well, the former Labour leader Arthur Henderson served as an MP there, and Dennis Skinner served as a councillor. That's quite a combination. Now, this debate is about schools, and state education has been a huge part of my family's life. My mum and my two aunts were state school teachers. Dad was a rebel. He trained teachers and taught English in a prison to immigrants. We all had a great passion for state education, and I see that passion every day in the teachers that teach my children and the teachers who teach in the state schools across Glasgow East. And many parents in Glasgow East struggle to pay for the bare essentials, the cost of the school day. And may I say, without being controversial, for this is a maiden speech, that those parents have great aspirations for their children. And the duty of any government is to focus its finite and limited resources on those families across our nation. Absolutely. Now, I must say something of Glasgow East, the greatest of the Glasgow constituencies. Next year, Glasgow will celebrate its 850th birthday, and my seat is at the heart of it, with some of the greatest medieval architecture, Glasgow Green, which hosts the Templeton building, which is better than anything in Venice, and of course George Square, the heart of Glasgow. My seat is an incredible cultural and artistic life, and the young children that I've listened to of the Big Noise project in Govan Hill, the Glasgow Schools Create project, and the East End Music School give me great comfort that the next 850 years have a bright artistic future. We also have some of Scotland's finest venues, including the Barrowlands Ballroom, where David Bowie, amongst others, have played. Now, Gil Scott-Heron was one of the most significant North American musicians of the last century. I've no idea if he played in Glasgow East, but his dad did. He played for Glasgow Celtic and was the first black player for Glasgow Celtic. The first black international player played in Glasgow East. Andrew Watson captained Scotland against England in 1881, and I'm delighted to say that Scotland beat England 6-1. Both, as black players, were pioneers, and another pioneer was Baroness Baron Ouseley, who passed away earlier this month. He was the founder of Kick It Out. And I think everyone in this House would pay tribute to Baron Ouseley's immense contribution to our public life. Like Andrew Watson, the footballer, Baron Ouseley came from Britain to Britain from Guyana. And one of Glasgow East's greatest strengths, comes from centuries of immigration. We have one of the oldest Muslim communities in Scotland, of which I am incredibly proud. And people from across the world, Roma people, Nigerians, Irish people and Italians, contribute greatly to our city. Immigration has been a source of joy and strength and energy in Glasgow over its 850 years. Returning to football, I must emphasise I am entirely neutral about Glasgow football. No good comes of taking a view. But I congratulate, may I say, Vale of Clyde, the third oldest Scottish junior club, which has celebrated its 150th birthday, and Garrow Hill Thistle, which made it to the Scottish Junior Cup final in Hampden this year. I leave football by noting that Kenny Dalglish was born in my seat. King Kenny was one of the best players of the beautiful game. But that is not the profoundest beauty of Kenny Dalglish's life. It is his devotion to the victims of the Hillsborough disaster and their families. He lived the famous Liverpool saying, "You'll never walk alone." And that is the saying that encapsulates the people of Glasgow East. Many people in Glasgow East face profound challenges with poverty and poor housing. But Glaswegians are determined, hard-working and tenacious, and no more so when it comes to looking after each other. And if I may, I would like to give some examples. John Ferguson, MBE, a Parkhead man, who's the driving force behind Parkhead Housing Association. Jimmy Mutter, who fought hard to transform the Gorbals. He succeeded. The volunteers of the Glasgow South East Food Bank, founded by Audrey Flanagan, has provided help to families in Govan Hill for many years. Audrey, John and Jimmy made sure that their constituents did not walk alone. The same can be said about many others in Glasgow, and their values are shared across our family of nations, from the Isle of Wight to the north of Scotland, where my mother came from. And the work of these great constituents I have mentioned points to our most urgent task, to fight against poverty. And in Glasgow's 850th year, my duty is simply to play my part in ensuring that no one in Glasgow East or anywhere in this family of nations walks alone. I thank you, Madam.